Welcome. I am Reverend Montclair, and this is Monday Church with Reverend Montclair. Today is the full moon this evening, and I just glanced out the window and I see it rising over the mountain ridge there. It's bright and full. The full moon signifies for some something coming into its fullness or completion. So prior to the full moon is the time to build, to sow the seeds, perhaps, to do the work. And then when the full moon comes, hopefully that work is completed, or at least some stage of it is in completion. And then the moon wanes again, and then we begin again to build up. So it is a cycle, and one that we can use to help us on our paths when we need some external deadlines or encouragement. But today's full moon is called the wolf moon, supposedly because at this time of the year, in the dead of winter in North America, the wolves could be heard outside the town as they're hunting in the deep cold of winter. I have not heard any wolves, though I do live right now in the somewhat wilderness area. In the summertime, I heard the coyotes, but it is a time for reflection, regardless of what did we put the time in to bring something of ourselves to fruition. It could even be searching deep within to find the source of some of our possibly fears. There are so many fears that have been revealed in recent decades. Sometimes our reactions, what is the source of our reactions to people that we may not recognize or had not recognized before doing some inner work. And bringing that to conscious awareness when we can look for in ourselves and find the original stimulus for a reaction. Source it. A friend of mine, a mentor of mine used to say, source it. Where does that come from? Where does some anger come from? Where does hurt come from? Where does a trigger reaction in the sense of maybe even assumptions about others or even about ourselves? Where does it come from? Where do these beliefs come from that might be limiting us, that might not be true, that maybe we need to let go of? So, in this year of 2025, we have many challenges laid out before us. Oh, not the least of which is continued evidence of climate disasters like Los Angeles, suffering greatly with the fires that are wafted on by the Santa Ana winds. These tragedies are not only challenging for those that live through them, but for those of us that witness them, sometimes mostly powerless to do anything to help. But we do also have choices. Different levels of possible power we may have. Some of us can make donations to rescue efforts, to housing efforts for the people that have lost everything. Meanwhile, in 2 days is an actual birthday of a very well-known and elegant individual, Martin Luther King Jr. He was someone who championed human rights, especially Black American rights, to be treated equally, to be treated with respect, to be regarded as dignified human beings. And he did this with the intention of doing this work peacefully and loudly. He spoke out against the prejudice and the limitations placed on African American individuals by our very prejudiced system. His birthday, his actual birthday, is the 15th. I know this because it's the same birthday as my mother. However, his holiday associated with him will be celebrated on Monday the 20th. Monday the 20th, as many of you know, is also Inauguration Day. I do see some irony in that. However, there it is. We have an Inauguration Day on Martin Luther King Jr.'s birthday. And this may be only the third time that a president in the United States has been inaugurated on Martin Luther King Jr.'s birthday. A notable event in history. And here we are, half of us love the idea and half of us don't. What I see really needs to happen in our culture is that we need to go within, and winter is a great time for that. We need to go within and find the source of our fears, that we think someone on the outside is going to protect us or keep us from harm from the other half. We need to recognize that we are one nation, we are one people, and the infighting, the teams that we are so used to defending tooth and nail, are not serving us. Once again, I say that the divide and conquer is the enemy version of how to conquer a people, and we are doing this to ourselves. So here we are at the cusp of a new season in our evolution in this country. And more than ever, I find we need to really take care of ourselves and to stop pointing the fingers at others and to really look within and see where it is in our own psyche, in our own belief systems, in our own experiences where we need to clear out the idea of being a victim, the idea that there is revenge to be had, or the idea that there are those outside of us that are wrong and that somehow we are the righteous ones. We too often do this external projecting of our issues on others, and instead, we really need to center in our own innermost self, in our heart of hearts, in our soul's purpose, and recognize that it's all up to us how we respond to these external circumstances that can be quite challenging and quite fearsome and even life-threatening. Not just life as we know it, not just our image of who we are, but literally life-threatening. How do we prepare when we are so unprepared for this crazy new world that we live in? How do we weather these severe changes and challenges? One way that is helpful is that we need to continue to create contacts and communicate with those around us, creating networks of support for ourselves by being the kind of person that can be relied upon and cultivating relationships with the kind of people that we can rely upon. So, challenging times demand a lot of honesty because we can no longer deny that the challenges in our environment exist. We can no longer deny that we need to be the one to stand up in our own lives and create the kinds of changes that we need to do to have clear minds, clear hearts, and clear purpose. The clearer we are with who we are, and what life really looks like, the more energy and support we will find for our mission. If your mission is to control others, you're on the wrong mission. The only mission is to not only control yourself, but to reveal yourself, your true self to the world. And when I say control, I essentially am referring to controlling those fears, controlling the false narrative of which we may have been convinced to believe. We have to be careful of what kind of media we consume. It is so easy in our culture to be knocked off of our purpose by a culture that is trying to sell something to us on the regular. So I wish for you in this new year and this new challenging administration, and I say that obviously from experience because it has happened before, that we need to ground ourselves every day, every hour, to really collect our full energy and put towards our true intentions, which can be found in the heart. It is our heart that sees clearly, often our mind that does not. This is not to negate intellect, education, wisdom, experience, but the body knows something that the mind does not, because the body has so much more sensory perceptive ability than we recognize. That is to our benefit. It is our intuition, and we receive messages from our intuition or even our subconscious in many different ways. And that doesn't mean that we all have many different ways, but each of us as individuals have different ways that we perceive our own intuition. Some of us will hear words spoken or on songs or written on walls that cue us into something that is going on in our minds, in our subconscious, something under the surface. When we hear repeated things, see repeated images, hear repeated themes of stories, it's something to grab our attention. It's something to pay attention to. We can also learn through our exercising our creativity in making art or music or songs or dance. What is it that our innermost self is trying to tell us? We can express the unexpressible through our art. So when I say unexpressible, sometimes it's from childhood trauma that even happened prior to us being verbal. It is very difficult, if not impossible, to put words to something that has happened to us prior to our ability to communicate with language. We all spent a period of our lives, not only in the womb, but after we were born, not being able to communicate verbally. Therefore, also in our minds, not being able to process experiences with words. We had the body, we have sensation, we have possibly visualizations, images, or color, or smells. These are different ways we perceive the world. And the more that we engage all of our senses, not just our ideas about the world, but our literal observations using as much of our senses as possible, the more we can take in information and respect and honor and follow our intuition. So I wish you an intuitive year that you are able to possibly learn from your dreams, the ones when you're sleeping, or even the daydreams you may have when you're going about your day, when you find yourself lost in thought. Pay attention to what it is that's on your mind, that's on your heart, that you may need to be brave, to move towards, to move through, to move beyond. Much love to you in this new year and these challenging times. And again, the Navajo Beauty Way prayer, the Dine, the Navajos name for themselves, the Dine Beauty Way prayer, I leave you with. May you walk in beauty, with beauty before you, with beauty behind you, with beauty above, with beauty below, with beauty all around you. May you walk bravely into this new year. Much love to you all. I will see you next time, whenever that will be. And once again, I am Reverend Montclair, and this is Monday Church with Reverend Montclair. Have a peaceful day. Thank you for tuning in.